Good afternoon, everybody. Not too long after we're born, all of us, almost universally, start to record visual snapshots of the world around us. Pictures of mothers and fathers and family pets, they're all common elements found in kid art. There's nothing more joyful than watching a 3 or a 4-year-old child just fill up an entire refrigerator, a gallery of refrigerator art. The best part of this early art experience is that kids don't care whether or not the art is any good or not. They just don't care about the value. They draw, they color, they paint, all for the simple joy of that experience. This phenomenon, as human as creator, is ancient. It goes back civilizations. The only thing that's really changed is the media that we're using to do this with. Picasso was correct when he said that every child was an artist. The problem is to remain one once we're an adult. Sadly, the vast majority of us pass through this young artist phase, and we're taught manners and socialization skills. Our vocabulary gets much wider. And somehow, the joy of art is replaced with self-doubt and critical paralysis. Like Stephanie Bender said earlier, we begin to fear failure. We start looking at our art as being maybe insufficient. Hair is a little off, the eyes aren't quite right. And so we stop drawing. And for most kids, they stop being a designer at this point. And that's awfully sad. Design, my favorite definition of design is by a guy named Marty Raiola, who is a media professor at Kutztown University. And Marty says, design is about imagining a future that is better than today and figuring out how to achieve it. Dr. Raiola breaks down design into 4 basic components, and they really have to do with the media the artist or the designer is working with. So we have graphic designers who work with images, and industrial designers who are creating products like these cell phones that we're walking around with, architects, and interactive designers. Interactive design is becoming a huge field. These people are creating virtual experiences for people. This year, my kids doing senior projects, I'm just totally blown away at the level of what they're creating. They're creating virtual cities, virtual characters, and it's a really neat growth process. All designers use a circular process like this, and at the heart of it is design as a means to solve a problem. This circular design process, if you teach science, it probably looks very familiar to you, because I believe it was probably ripped off from the scientific method, developing a hypothesis and that sort of thing. I try to work with my kids to understand that this process can be used in any academic class as well. It is a universal. The most important reason that design has become so important to our society today is just how much change we've seen in the last 40 years. Consider this. There are now 1.2 billion internet users. Google estimates that there are a lot more users than sites. There are 644 million active websites, and we're adding about 250,000 every day. Since I started this talk, well over 45 hours of video has been added to YouTube. And in the middle of 2001, there were over 1 billion photos on Facebook. Nearly 130 million videos have been watched by our students on Khan Academy. Our kids today, quite simply, are inundated with media. It's coming from them from every angle. And yet, I'm not sure that our schools are ready or have the knowledge to train kids on how to deal with that kind of an avalanche of information. On March 7th of this month, a 9th grade student approached me at the end of a class one day, and she's very seriously said, Mr. Tucker, you must watch this. This is really important. I just watched it this morning, and it's the most amazing thing. And I became one of the 8.2 million people that watched the Coney 2012 video that day. To understand just how viral this video became, if you had gone 3 days earlier, there were a total of 8 people that watched that video. Over a 6-day period, over 100 million people watched that video. It inspired a lot of kids to think about the world around them in a wider way. What I learned that day is that our kids are still really, really committed about caring about our world. And regardless of what that video is or where it sits, it has done that for us. Design is integrated into every occupation and every academic pursuit we could possibly imagine. Dr. Robert Hayes from the Harvard School of Business put it this way. He said, 15 years ago, companies were competing strictly on price. Today, it's quality. Tomorrow, it's going to be design. My question is, for all of us gathered here today, is how do we get teachers to help students get back to that instinctual artist, designer, and creator that they once were? All educators should be trying to answer that question, and it's a challenge. Thank you for listening.